chat here. Give it a few seconds for people to get here. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be rewatching the episode of For My Man about Jennifer Brundage, which is the murder of my ex-stepdad's best friend. She was involved, and I know the real story, and I like going against the investigation discovery bits so that I can fill in some blanks and correct some things. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Since I know what I'm doing now. Let me make sure this works. Always have my phone on me to make sure this stuff works. Always have my phone on me to make sure. There's me. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start this episode of For My Man.
In Indianapolis, Jennifer Brundage truly believes she has found the love of her life.
They loved each other. They had discussed spending the rest of their lives together.
But when distance threatens to keep the lovers apart, she goes to great lengths to hold on to her man.
He was gunned down for no reason. Could have backed away from this plot.
She was committed to do whatever it took, even if it meant committing murder. She got caught up in the love for her man.
And later, in New Jersey, Sade Harris has always played by the rules growing up.
She had never been in trouble before.
Until
yeah, we don't. Okay.
In her hometown of New Palestine, Indiana, 17-year-old Jennifer Brundage has lived the sweet life.
First off, it's New Palestine, not New Palestine. It's New Pal. We call it New Pal. And there was a rumor when New Pal was my high school's rivals. And there was their mascot was the dragon, and their colors were white and red. And there was a rumor that they had gotten that mascot and used those colors because they got the land for the high school from the Grand Dragon of the KKK. That's just a rumor. We're not sure if it's true, but it's been around for ages.
Jennifer had a good relationship with her family. She had both parents at home. She had a very well-to-do, comfortable childhood.
She lived in a nice area, nice homes, a lot of really professional people that are well educated, have a lot of advantages, and she was a pretty good student in school.
Even though the straight-A student seems to have it all, she still longs for something more.
Some of the other girls in the class seem to be a little more popular than Jennifer, but overall she's looking to explore more of a social life.
But that's proving to be a bit of a task in this sleepy town.
Hang on.
There's not much to do in New Pal other than whatever there is to do in high school. She always wanted to go to the big city, which around here is Indianapolis.
There are some people who are very content to be in their small towns because it gives them what they need for their soul. But then you have other people who are afraid of being stuck, if you will, in a small town. They dream of the adventure of the big city.
Her dream.
Indianapolis, isn't that huge, but compared to New Pal and where I grew up, yeah, Indianapolis was the place you wanted to be. That's where everything was happening.
Are one step closer to becoming a reality.
I used to live in Indianapolis.
High school and gets accepted to Indiana University School of Business in the fall.
IU School of Business is in Bloomington, and it is one of the largest business schools out there.
Until then, Jennifer samples all that Indianapolis has to offer just 30 minutes west.
Jennifer was really eager to just start a new life and just have some new experiences. So she found a group of people in Indianapolis who she was having fun with. They were different.
On a night out with her new friend, she meets 19-year-old Kenneth Kelly.
He was someone that Jennifer had never known, had never experienced. He was a young African-American male who was nice to her, gave her attention, and probably made her feel special.
Kenneth appeared to be relatively well-adjusted, and those people close to him would say he had a certain type of charisma or charm about him.
See, that goes opposite of what happened at the trial, because Kenneth Kelly, his defense tried to play that he had bad grades in school and he could barely string two sentences together. My mother actually got a letter from him because she did write him in jail when he was in jail, not my mom. And his handwriting was kind of atrocious.
But unlike Jennifer, Kenneth couldn't afford to go to college after high school, so he waits tables at a local restaurant to make ends meet.
He's from a pretty rough background, a pretty rough neighborhood. A lot of his friends have been arrested or have gone to jail. He does not have a criminal history. However, he has struggled to really move forward in his life. Everyone loves him. He's a really nice and likable person.
Though Jennifer and Kenneth come from different backgrounds, they're quick to merge their worlds.
When you look at that old saying that
Hang on.
He's a really nice and likable person.
Though Jennifer and Kenneth
That's
come from different
the
backgrounds,
Wabash.
they're quick to merge their worlds.
That trail is probably at the Indiana Museum of Art.
When you look at that old saying that opposites attract, for some couples that's really true. I think part of the allure is learning something really different from what you're used to.
They began to start dating, and eventually they were head over heels in love and spending time together almost daily. She was leaving to go to college in a few months, but they were really sound and confident that they were meant to be together and they wanted to spend their lives together.
But finding the means to be together is proving to be a challenge for the young couple.
They lived probably about 25 to 30 miles, if not more, apart. And Jennifer was the only one with a mode of transportation. Jennifer had her own car, but Kenny didn't. That was becoming a problem as the summer went on, as she prepared to go to Indiana University.
Once classes start, Jennifer will be too busy
you're
with
so
school to
pretty.
pick Kenneth up. With the hour distance between Bloomington and Indianapolis, it will be impossible for them to find the time to see each other. With no car or the means to buy.
See, that's funny to me because I'm queer, and I know people who I'm queer, polyamorous, and have no issue with long distance relationships. So the fact that an hour distance was a problem for them, I mean, I understand it, but it's still, they murdered my friend over an hour distance.
His own ride to see his girl. Kenneth struggles to find a solution to their problem.
And it put a strain on their relationship. He didn't discourage her from going to college, but it was stressing the couple out to make sure they would be able to spend time together.
For young couples, they really need that together time. They need.
Oh, hang on, let me
the
check
time
and see.
together.
I think I
Young
know the
couples,
overpass.
they
Okay.
really need
Meridian? No, come back. Meridian and MLK. Yes, I know that place. So there's a building just behind where the camera crew was over here. I actually used to work in that building. So I used to work right off this bypass.
that together time. They need that face-to-face contact. And so when you look at their becoming separated, it can be a real recipe for disaster.
And as thoughts of how to maintain his relationship weigh heavily on his mind, Kenneth hopes for a quick fix to his problems. Then, one day, his prayers are answered while spending time at the house on the block with the cool mom.
The cool mom who was voted to have by the Indianapolis Star, the Indianapolis newspaper, to have the messiest van in the city. I'm not even kidding. She had the messiest van in the city, and the newspaper told her so.
Linda Scheimer.
And Kenneth spent a lot of time over there because he was friends of Linda's children.
And he went to the home, presumably to hang out with friends. No one was there, but Linda said it was okay. He could hang out and watch television while he waited for others to arrive.
And they're watching television. And there was a commercial for a Cadillac came on the TV.
He expresses to Linda that he wants to have that car. He really would love if he could have that Cadillac so that he could go visit Jennifer when she goes off to college in a couple months.
Upon hearing this, Linda's ears perk up.
As she listened to Kenny lament about how he wanted and really needed a car to continue his relationship with Jennifer, Linda had issues of her own and figured that there might be a way that she and Kenny could help each other.
Linda is evil incarnate. She was I know they're going to go into this, but she was the best friend of Brett's wife, whose name I'm not going to use here. They do change her name in this episode, but I'm not going to say her name. They'd been friends for 20 plus years, called each other soul sisters, said that I love you. We're pretty sure that they were having a lesbian relationship. We're pretty sure. Because that's just too freaking sus.
This was an opportunity that
Oh, and she still visits Linda in jail. last I heard. Wrote her letters, calls her, still in communication
Linda had
with
been
the
waiting
person who
for,
set up the murder of
and
her
she
husband.
finally found someone who she could pray on to help her complete her sick and twisted idea.
With that, Linda offers Kenny a very dangerous proposition. And with a little help from Jennifer, her devious plan can go off without a hitch.
She was committed to do whatever it took, even if it meant committing murder.
This is a sick, twisted plot.
In Indianapolis, Jennifer Brundage's boyfriend, Kenneth Kelly, confides in his friend's mom, Linda Scheimer, his desire to own his very own Cadillac so he can visit his girlfriend once she goes off to college in the fall.
As Kenneth was confiding in Linda, Linda made Kenneth a very generous promise.
Linda told Kenny that she could help him get that Cadillac. She knew someone who had the exact Cadillac that he was admiring through the car commercial.
But in order
Brett had 3 Cadillacs that he restored himself. Those were his babies.
for her to help him, Kenneth had to
Excuse
help
me.
her first. She explains that her 25-year friendship with her best friend, Samantha Dobbins, has hit a rough patch because she despises Samantha's husband of 9 years, Brett.
Like I said, that's not her name.
Linda felt that Brett got in the way of her relationship with her friend Samantha. She felt he was not good for her best friend and wanted him essentially out of the picture.
Linda makes a proposition to Kenneth that if he can kill Brett Dobbins, she will find a way to give Kenneth one of Brett's Cadillacs. And one is very similar to the one that Kenneth saw in
It was the red one.
the commercial.
When we're looking at emotions, really disliking someone, or even worse, hating someone may lead to irrational thoughts. And most people, though, thank goodness, don't act out on it.
I think that Kenny was originally surprised by Linda's request, but ultimately he looked at it and thought that it was a manner to achieve his goal of having a vehicle and being closer to the woman he wanted to be with.
With his mind spinning, Kenneth tells Linda that he'll think about her proposition and heads home. Later that night, Jennifer goes to Kenneth's house and he shares the conversation that took place earlier that day.
Jennifer was shocked and not impressed, but Kenny believed it was really the only way that he could get what he needed to keep he and Jennifer together. She tried to talk him out of it, convinced that there had to be another way.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Despite her efforts
She kind of,
to
sort
talk
of tried
out
to talk
the
him out of
hideous
it.
plan, her loyalty to Kenneth gets the best of her.
Ultimately, Jennifer agreed to help Kenneth with the murder.
When a person is in a state of desperation, they're probably not thinking clearly and they're acting on impulse and therefore may make all of the wrong decisions.
A few days later, the couple meets up with Linda Scheimer to let her know they're willing to go through with the plan.
Linda provided Kenny with all of the information he needed to get this job done. She also rode.
Hang on, I kind of zoned there for a second because I was sending out the call to, hey, I'm streaming.
A few days later, the couple meets up with Linda Scheimer to let her know they're willing to go through with the plan.
Linda provided Kenny with all of the information he needed to get this.
Okay, here's the tea, y'all. Here's the real tea. Allegedly, what had happened was Linda had Samantha in one room in her house and had Kenneth Kelly and Jennifer Brundage in another room of her house. And Linda went between the 2 rooms so one never saw the other and could not implicate them. Allegedly.
Job done. She also rode with Kenny and Jennifer in Jennifer's car to show them exactly where the Dobbins house.
That is actually the house, the Dobbins house. You can see one of the old cars right there, but that actually is their house. I remember going there and playing when I was a kid.
Was located. They ride 30 minutes away from Indianapolis. Linda shows them
A little place
exactly
called
where they
Eden,
live.
Indiana.
She shows them their driveway. Linda even goes as far as telling Kenneth exactly what time Brett leaves to work every morning.
Like I said, she was bouncing between rooms, getting all the information.
She suggests that with no one around early that hour, There will be no witnesses, and they can easily pull off the hit.
Kenneth and Jennifer are still very naive, still very trustworthy of Linda, so they continue to follow Linda's master plan.
Sometimes it's very easy for young people to be manipulated by an older person. I mean, think about it. The young person is very inexperienced. They're looking to that older person for guidance, and sometimes that older person can take them in a very bad place.
In the days that follow, Kenneth is determined to get the job done, and he needs the right weapon for the attack.
Kenneth decided that a gun would be better to carry out this murder.
See, he decided a gun would be better after he went out to to carry out the hit with a baseball bat. And when he saw how big Brett was, he got scared. So he actually tried the day before the murder to kill Brett with a baseball bat. But he chickened out and then went and got the gun from his cousin.
He set out to go get a gun from one of his cousins, Ray. Kenneth didn't give Ray many details, but he did mention it to him. Ray blew it off and thought Kenneth was just talking and joking. However, Ray did let Kenneth borrow his gun.
A week later, Jennifer continues to stand by her man as they head 30 miles east to Eden with a strategy in place and a weapon in hand.
She drove Kenny to the Dobbins residence in the wee.
All right, so this is what I wanted to do. I forgot to pull it up, so we'll Google Maps. I want to show you the actual layout. Come on. There we go. So, excuse me. Here is the layout. Let's close this here. Of where we're at. Here's Eden Cemetery. There's Eden United Methodist Church. One of these houses, I'm not going to say which, is the Dobbins residence. What Jennifer Brundage did was she parked over here in the parking lot of the church, behind the church, so she couldn't see anything. And he went and carried out the hit. Eden's a very, very small area. Like, I lived around here, around this area, and we would always ride our bikes just to and from down Eden Road. Usually hung out at the church as kids. But yeah, that's how he carried it out. And she didn't see anything.
Hours of the morning, long before Brett Dobbins was supposed to leave the home on his way to work.
Kenneth instructed Jennifer to park approximately a block away so she would be out of the view.
See, like I said, it wasn't about a block away. She parked behind the church so that she wouldn't see anything.
Of the Dobbins home. At that time, Kenneth got out of the vehicle and Jennifer moved the vehicle as instructed.
She sits nervously in the driver's seat as she waits for her boyfriend. She can't see the Dobbins' home from where she's parked, so she can't immediately tell if he will get the job done. And right on time, as the clock hits 5:30 a.m., Brett emerges from his home, unaware that danger is lurking right behind him.
The guy they got to play Brett looked so eerily similar to Brett. It's actually kind of insane.
Never saw Kenny approach from behind.
Kenneth came up behind Brett and shot him.
That's how you can tell this is staged, because Eden, like I showed you the map, there's no place for cars to park like they had up in this area.
In the back.
Caught off guard, Brett falls to the ground and screams out.
Brett had no idea he would be a victim.
Jennifer and Kenneth.
What he did is Kenneth came up from behind him while Brett was putting his lunch in the trunk of his car. So his back was facing the church.
Ran deeper than they ever imagined.
And later,
He got back in the car, and the first words she said to him were, "That was so loud."
Later, Sade Harris goes to great lengths to secure a future with a man she believes is the love of her life.
The lifestyle that
Yes, Sade.
Jarrell was helping Jarrell. Jarrell was anything to make him happy.
Uh-huh.
Indiana,
Okay.
Jennifer Brundage and her boyfriend Kenneth Kelly have just carried out the planned hit on 55-year-old Brett Dobbins outside of his home.
Kenneth shot him in the back, and then Mr. Dobbins fell to the ground. He then began to scream in pain. Kenneth then returned and fired another shot, after which there were no more sounds from Mr. Dobbins.
Once he's sure that Brett is dead, Kenneth runs back to the car where Jennifer awaits nervously. In his haste to make a quick getaway, he forgets to place the small bag of marijuana Linda had given him on Brett's body.
No. Mm-mm. She did forget. I mean, he did forget to place the marijuana, but I just find that hilarious. I find it freaking hilarious because I'm 95% sure now that I'm an adult, somebody was growing weed back in those woods. I swear to you, somebody was. I don't know who, and if I ever go back, I'm gonna find it. But yeah, no. Mm-mm.
His only concern was leaving the scene as quickly as possible. Kenny jumped in Jennifer's car. Jennifer looked at Kenny and said, "That was loud. I could hear him screaming from here."
Like I said, she wasn't that far away.
Jennifer was concerned that if she heard it, someone else possibly could have heard or saw something as well.
The two immediately flee from the scene.
They quickly got out of the neighborhood and they were hungry, so they went to a fast food restaurant and then they left there and went back.
They went to McDonald's. I worked at a McDonald's and was on shift during that time. In fact, if you've listened to my live about the murder itself, I found out after I got off work at McDonald's. My mom, I remember her asking if a black guy and a white girl came in for the breakfast shift and sat and ate. Thankfully, I said no. They didn't come to my McDonald's. My mom and I are forever grateful that they didn't come to my McDonald's to eat.
Back to Kenneth's home where they took a nap.
Back at the Dobbins residence, a phone call wakes up Brett's wife, Samantha, around 7:30 a.m.
Brett was known for being on time every time at his place of employment. When his boss called the family to find out if something had gone wrong, Samantha went outside to see if his car was still there. That's when Samantha found her husband Brett dead in their front yard.
She was horrified, shocked, and devastated when she found her husband dead on the ground.
They didn't have any known enemies. They were in a nice, quiet neighborhood. Brett was on his normal daily routine, so
We originally thought that Brett had gotten into some trouble because he had discovered some time clock fraud at Raytheon, his place of employment, and was going to become a whistleblower. So that was our original thought. But my mom said that a couple days before this happened, they were hanging out in the garage. Brett and my stepdad were fixing the car. My mom was listening to music. I'm pretty sure they were smoking weed. I'm not pretty. I'm pretty sure of that now that I'm an adult. But Brett, they were just having a conversation. My mom said, "If anything happens to me, look to my ex-husband." And Brett said, "If anything happens to me, look to Linda Scheimer." And that was prophetic. It was prophetic as all hell.
to see that your husband is gunned down in your driveway is very frightening.
She immediately calls 911 as neighbors begin to pour out of their homes to investigate Samantha's loud cries echoing through the street.
Once the police arrived, they scoured the neighborhood to see if they could find anything.
The only evidence
I remember my mom told me she was standing outside the police line watching the cops. And they just couldn't believe it. And my stepdad was concerned because Brett's lunch was in the trunk of the car. And he knew Brett wouldn't want the lunch to rot and stink up the car because he loved that car.
Found at the scene were shell casings from a weapon.
Meanwhile, Jennifer and Kenneth continue to lay low in Indianapolis.
After Kenny and Jennifer woke up from their nap, they went to Linda Scheimer's house to inform her that they had, in fact, done what she had asked them to do.
After giving Linda the lowdown on Brett's murder, Kenneth asks her when he'll get the Cadillac that she had promised.
Linda told Kenneth that they needed to wait so that no one would be suspicious. She also probably didn't think it would be a good idea to ask her best friend about a vehicle when her husband had just been murdered.
So these two would spend all day on the phone. All day. Not even kidding. Like, we would go over there and she'd be on the phone and then she'd hang up, and then 10 minutes later Linda would call again, and it was so weird. Like, this is a sapphic relationship, y'all. Like, I this is speculation and alleged on my part, but to me this sounds like a sapphic relationship.
The teens leave Linda's home and pretend the day's events never happened. A week later, Jennifer leaves for Bloomington to start her freshman year at the university, while Kenneth remains in Indianapolis.
Party
Despite the
row
guilt they're
right
feeling,
there.
Both agree to never speak of what they have done. But before they can fully move on, Kenneth has to make sure he gets rid of anything that can trace the murder back to them.
Kenneth returns the gun back to his cousin Ray.
He was not very smart.
Having no idea that the gun had bodies on it, Ray puts the gun back in the glove compartment of his girlfriend's car. The following day, detectives knock on Ray's door when his gun is linked to the murder through ballistics testing.
Didn't take long at all.
The detectives were questioning Ray. They were inquiring about his handgun and if it had been used in a crime or if he had loaned it to anybody. And at that time, Ray responded, "Yeah, my cousin Kenneth used my gun recently."
Having linked the gun to Kenny, authorities arrested Kenny at his home. Kenny informed authorities that his girlfriend Jennifer had been involved in the commission of the crime. He also said Linda Scheimer had orchestrated the entire thing.
Ba-da-da.
Police charge Kenneth Kelly with murder. A day later, just 1 week into the fall semester, police arrest Jennifer Brundage for her role in the murder of Brett Dobbins.
Ta-da.
Jennifer also cooperated with the police and she told them everything.
Sometimes, no matter how loving a couple may be, no matter how much they may have protected one another, when law enforcement comes down on them, they'll turn on each other on a dime.
Jennifer Brundage is charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder, and a felony charge of assisting a criminal.
Oh God, that evil face. I always seem to pause on that face. I can't. So a couple years ago, Jennifer tried to have her record expunged of the crime. Let me see if I can find it. This was years ago, so I don't even know if I still have the email. There we go. I found it. From the very first day I moved in with my mother back in middle school, Brett Dobbins was a consistent in my life and the lives of my family. He was over at the farmhouse multiple times a week, working in the garage with my stepfather, Gary Blank, restoring cars, or just generally hanging out around the house. He helped my mom by getting her around, as my mother does not drive. The day he died, I was in absolute shock. I initially thought it was a random murder, as I didn't know most of the personal details of his life because I was a teenager. Sadly, the truth was much worse. Jennifer Brundage assisted Kenneth Kelly in the murder of my family's close friend, which was planned by Linda Scheimer. She took away a lifelong friend, the father of a young child, and a good member of the community. We have to live with this emptiness, the void where Brett used to be. A son has to live without the guidance of his father. It's my belief, as we all have to live with this mark on our lives, Jennifer Brundage should have to live with this on her record. It is my opinion that the act of even asking to have the charges associated with Brett's murder expunged from her record is shameful. To Jennifer, I say this. I've never met you, but you've had one of the greatest negative impacts on my life. I had even considered forgiving you for murdering Brett, but now, since you've tried to hide what you did, I can never forgive you. You've ruined so many lives with your selfish actions, and you should live with having ruined your own. That was my statement. That kept that on Jennifer Brundage's record. I'm kind of a badass when it comes to words.
Charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder, and a felony charge of assisting a criminal.
Ugh, that
The
face.
day after Jennifer's arrest, police track down Linda Scheimer and charge her with felony murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Jennifer and Kenneth both take a plea deal and agree to testify against Linda. And despite their arrests, the two lovers maintain their relationship.
And while both parties are in the Hancock County Jail, they found a way to speak letters to one another.
Mm-hmm.
The couple vows to stand by each other and comes up with a plan to make sure they'll be together through the end of time.
Just a few days before Linda Scheimer's trial, Kenny was found unresponsive in his jail cell. Kenny was rushed to the hospital, which also prompted a check of the entire jail, where Jennifer was then found appearing intoxicated. She was also
That's a
rushed to the
nice hospital. I've been there.
Both Jennifer and
Multiple
Kenneth used
times.
the medication while they were incarcerated. They kind of stashed away the medicine over a period of time.
Couples who believe that they're truly in love will do anything to be together. If they're forced apart, then you have to look at the Romeo and Juliet syndrome. If they can't be together in life, then they'll be together in death.
Jennifer and Kenneth each recover from their failed suicide attempt and testifies in
That's
Linda's
a really
trial.
nice courthouse.
In line with their plea deals, Jennifer Brundage is sentenced to 8 years in prison for assisting a criminal. Kenneth Kelly is sentenced to 55 years in prison for the murder of Brett Dobbins. Although
Yeah.
Linda Scheimer maintains her innocence, a jury finds her guilty of murder and conspiracy to commit and is sentenced to 55 years in prison. In the end, following her
My mom told Linda that she'd see her in hell. So proud of my mom for that. I really am. So yeah, that just wanted to go over that again because, make sure that all the record is straight. We still have people looking for the episode of Main Street Mysteries. So if anybody has a lead on season 1 of Main Street Mysteries, I need episode 17. That's the one I'm looking for. So hit up your friends who find Lost Media and see if they can find it. All right, I'm gonna end this because I really don't have anything to do today. I really don't have anything to talk about. I just really wanted to go over the video again. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.